people, you know, just feel like they can't start a garden because it's so expensive. They don't know where to start. But the biggest thing is the cost. You know, as with any type of a hobby, you can do it really expensively or you can do it on a budget. We have expanded our garden tenfold this year on a budget. We are a single income household. In order to expand it, we knew that we had to create a plan and also, you know, get really smart about it and make sure that we weren't spending a ton of money. In this video, I'm going to talk about how we have expanded our garden, making it so that we have a little bit more food security. First things first, before you get started, it's important to formulate a plan. You don't want to get started on a massive garden project aimlessly. That's going to be the #1 way that you're going to spend too much money. So what we did is we drew out how much, sorry, my chickens are right here. We drew out how much we wanted to expand, what we visualized it looking like, and we also talked about a budget. We talked about a time plan as well. When did we want to get all of these projects done, and what was the goal? What was the stopping point? So I would definitely recommend don't get started until you have a plan, because otherwise it's really easy to spend way too much money. Originally, when we started our garden at this property, we were building these beautiful metal beds with cedar wood on the side. Each bed is about $300, so we knew that if we wanted to continue to expand our garden at the rate that we wanted to expand it at and at the size that we wanted to expand it at, it was no longer practical to continue to build these beautiful beds. We went from being a 2-income household to a 1-income household after welcoming our son into this world, and we had to start, you know, getting smart and really thinking, where can we salvage materials and where can we get crafty and put more sweat equity into things instead of, you know, just buying things out of leisure. So first, we knew we couldn't continue to build really expensive cedar wood beds. Although I love cedar, it's so beautiful and it lasts years and years and years. We just knew we couldn't afford it anymore. We started to buy these metal beds that you can see behind me from Amazon. They are about 6 feet long by 3 feet wide, and they run anywhere between like $50 and $70. The price changes all the time. I'll include a link below if you want to check those out, but these have been a really great kind of on the pricier end solution to getting our garden jump started. My husband found some wood pallets on the side of the road. They're all heat treated and they were in really, really good condition. We ended up building them into raised beds, which was super easy because most of the cuts were already done for us. I'll include a link in here on how we actually did that. But now we have 8 beautiful raised beds that were built completely for free. That really, really helped expand the garden at a quick pace. We've also utilized these cattle panel trellises that you can see behind me, and what you can do is get these cattle panel trellises, put a little bit of soil at the bottom and start growing things from the bottom up. So this is a really great option to help minimize weeds, trellising things, save space, and also, you know, reduce price. These are a more permanent structure and it only costs about $27 or so per cattle panel trellis plus the T-post. So you're looking about like $40, but it's a more long-term permanent structure. Mulching, if that's something that you're interested in, it can get really, really expensive. We had mulched the pathways in between all of our raised garden beds for free, 100% for free. What we did is we saved all of our cardboard boxes, asked all of our friends and family to save their boxes, especially after Christmas. We ended up laying them lots of layers of cardboard on the ground. We got some chip drops, and chip drop is a free mulch service. Basically the arborists, they come and they drop off their load of mulch as opposed to having to drive all the way out to the dump and drop off their mulch. They drop it off at your house, and then you have all of this free mulch to just spread around. In turn, you're going to start creating a mulched area that's free, and it's really going to start suffocating those weeds. I'm sitting here in our big 16 foot by 8 foot bed. The wood is not heat treated. It was really affordable. This whole entire raised bed with materials was about $100. So it was 3 pieces of pine wood at about $27 each. So that's on the pricier end and the more kind of like polished end, but I would definitely recommend the really long kind of like thick pieces of pine if you want to get a really big bed that's going to grow a lot of things. So what are some other options for infrastructure that are really affordable? A really great option would be go to your local lumber yard and see if they have any second cut pieces of wood, which means that this is wood that they've cut from kind of like the ideal pieces, and they're selling at either like a discounted rate, or they might even have a whole amount that they're just giving away basically. Another option is go on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace and see if anybody is getting rid of wood. A lot of people are just getting rid of wood pallets, they're getting rid of their scraps or their materials such as brick, anything like that. Or some people are just selling it for really affordable as well. So definitely check out those specific sites like Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, because you really never know what you can find. I have found so many treasures on those sites. Another option a lot of people don't think about is go to the dump. Go to your local dump and see what they have. Most dumps actually have their materials sectioned off, if it's a nice dump, into like organic matter, wood, materials and things like that, and go there, salvage for some awesome materials. Somebody else's trash is now your treasure, and it's going to be next to nothing if not free. Water irrigation. This is a really big question, especially if you're expanding your garden and making it really large. How are you going to water everything? Installing all of this like custom irrigation can get really pricey. What we've done is installed 2 of these impact sprinklers in our garden. I think each one covers about 2,000 square feet, which is really big. The impact sprinklers are anywhere between like $40 and $60. They kind of change all the time in price. I'll include a link to the ones that we use on Amazon, but that's a really good immediate solution if you want to start irrigating a massive amount of your property. On the other hand, if you live in the city and you really want to reduce the amount of water that you're using and you don't want to waste any of it at all, it's going to be more of an investment up front, but installing drip irrigation is going to save you on your water bill. Oh my goodness, seeds can get so expensive, and a lot of people who are just starting out gardening, they don't even know where to start. The idea of even starting things from seeds is super intimidating, which I completely understand. When I first started out gardening, I was the same way. But if you're trying to garden on a budget, it's certainly in your best interest to start everything from seed. There are so many resources out there on how to start things from seed. I've made a few videos on it. I'll include a link up here. If you think about it, one seed start is about $5 for one plant. And if you're growing something like cabbage or broccoli and you're starting it from a $5 seed start, you could have just bought a head of cabbage at the store for like $2 instead. It's definitely gonna be a lot pricier to do everything from starts. And you're also only saving like a week or two's worth of time. A few affordable ways to get your seeds is join a local seed exchange. Some people are so passionate about gardening and excited that they will even give you the seeds for free. Another option is go to the dollar store. The dollar store has tons of seeds. A lot of people don't realize this, especially in the springtime, and they sell them for $1 each, or sometimes like 4 for $1. And a lot of these seeds I've even seen them in like those more kind of expensive seed sites as well. A favorite way for me to get seeds is just go to your grocery store and go seed shopping. If you're already gonna buy a pepper or like a butternut squash or a spaghetti squash, anything that is a fruiting vegetable that has seeds inside of it, you can literally just buy that vegetable and shell the seeds out of it. But if we're talking about a free option, just talk to the local produce manager and see if there's any fruits or vegetables that they're going to throw out that have been blemished or bruised, and then you can get the seeds from those for free. For a lot of people, building all of these massive raised beds is just not a feasible option, and frankly it's often not the most affordable option. The most affordable option to start your garden is just starting it straight into the ground. It is going to require a lot more work to make sure that soil is amended and that you're keeping the garden weeded, but that hands down is going to be the the most affordable option. If you live somewhere like me in Florida where the soil is mostly sand, it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge, which is why we do raised bed gardening. But depending on where you live, you could have awesome soil from the bat, which is going to make it just an even more ideal option for you. Soil, it could be literally one of the #1 cost contributing factors to starting a garden. And it's also the #1 contributing factor to having a really healthy garden that's also going to produce a lot, so you can have a massive yield on your return on investment. So how do we get all of these raised beds filled, or how do you get that nice thick layer of soil on the ground if you're growing straight into the ground? Soil can cost next to a fortune when you are working with the massive amount that you need for lots and lots of raised beds. We're not just filling up a few containers here. So what we did is we went on Facebook Marketplace and found somebody who was selling compost in bulk. Usually those people will have a farm, they'll have cows, and they make their own compost out of their own manure. It's really, really good quality things usually, so just read all of the reviews. But it cost us about a little under $90 for a whole truck bed and a whole trailer load, which will fill tons and tons of raised beds. So I would definitely look and see on Facebook Marketplace if there's anybody who sells soil in bulk near you, which I'm sure that there are because a lot of people do that. And some people even offer services to come and drop it off at your house for an extra fee. Now, if you want to make your own soil or fill up the beds as cheaply as possible, start to go around your property and forage for big sticks and logs, which is another reason why you should go to the dump and start foraging for those logs. Fill up those beds with, fill up the space with those. Over time, that's going to break down and turn into soil. I also use peat moss to fill up those beds and add that fluffiness, which will also help with the drainage and moisture retention. Peat moss is really affordable. You can get a gigantic bag, I think for about $8 right now. I also recommend, if you're wanting to make your own compost, to find a local farmer from Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace and see if they have any compost that they're willing to sell or just give away. Most of these farmers have an abundance of compost from their cows or from their horses or chickens that they're willing to give to you at a really discounted price. This is going to make super, super healthy soil and compost. There used to be a place next to us that was a mushroom farm, and they would sell horse manure mushroom compost for $10 for an entire truck bed. It was so awesome. They don't do it anymore, unfortunately, but I tell that story because there could be a place like that wherever you live that sells really good quality compost or mushroom compost near you. So you just have to start getting creative and see, are there any local farms that would have that abundance. Another thing I want to talk to you guys about is fertilizer. Fertilizer is essential to having a very healthy garden that's going to yield the maximum amount of fruits and vegetables. And it can get really expensive to buy those fertilizers that are already pre-made. I mean, they're seriously up there in price, which is why I would definitely suggest starting to make your own fertilizer at home. I do this with worm castings. This is my little worm farm. And as you can see, it's got some of my scraps from yesterday in there. It is essentially the same thing as cow manure or horse manure or chicken manure. It's worm manure. So you're left with this amazing product called worm castings. The worm castings have so many nutrients and minerals in there that it's almost hard to compare them to other fertilizers. They're not going to burn your plants. It's going to provide a permanent solution to amending your soil, and it's next to nothing as far as cost. All you really need is a plastic bin to start out with and a few worms, so you can really start out your worm casting journey, I would say, for under $10. After that, you're left with seriously some garden gold. I love using my chickens' litter as fertilizer. It is super easy. All we do every time that we're cleaning out the chicken coop is we dig kind of a line in one of the beds, put their chicken litter on top of that, and then bury it back up. It ends up turning into some amazing compost, which is going to feed your vegetables for a really affordable price of basically nothing. It gives your chickens another purpose other than companionship and delicious eggs, because now you can use their byproduct as fertilizer too. Their eggshells are also rich in calcium, which is really great for your garden if you want to grind that up and add that to the garden too. If you don't want to have chickens, which I understand, it's not a practical option for everybody, you can go on Craigslist or on Facebook Marketplace and see if there are any farmers that are selling their manure or that are giving it away. If you guys have any extra tips on how to save money while expanding the garden, I would love to hear from you. Please be sure to drop them in the comment section below so that you can not only help me but others as well. If you guys enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.